What's going on, YouTube? We're back at it for another video, and today we've got the Revelation Depths Guide, which is a bit of a secret zone in a way with a secret boss fight, and one of the location where you start the Umbral ending side quest line, I guess you should call it. But we'll be starting from the Vestige point at the upper CALRATH portion before we actually go to cleanse the beacon. And if you didn't know, we'll be taking the lift back on down. But if you didn't know how to get the Umbral ending, sadly enough, if you've cleansed any one of the beacons, not only are you locked out of the Umbral ending, but you're also locked out of the ADYR ending. Pretty much locked out of every ending other than the main one, and I'll be real, I didn't really like the main ending one. But it is kind of crazy that both of these endings get locked out of, even from just cleansing one beacon. But coming back down that lift, heading over to the left side, we'll be able to head back into the Umbral and go up under here in this sewer-like location, which will be densely populated with more than a few enemies. Around the corner over to our left, we will have more of those flying little gremlin creatures, absolutely frustrating, as well as having one of those invisible bowmen just behind us that we were dealing with in the mines previous to this. It's a bit of a cluster moment, and it's one to have to deal with, but it's not the most difficult thing in the game yet. Just a bit more of that irritation. But over here on our left, we'll be popping that stomach and be grabbing up the NOHUTA effigy. Or is it NOHUTA? This will be an Umbral catalyst, and if you haven't found one up to this point, wouldn't be the worst one that you could possibly use if you're going for a Radiance and Inferno build. Trying to kind of blend each one of the magic sources. But heading back down that long hallway where we dealt with the bowman, we come into the end of that and going over to our right. On our left will be a room where we'll need to pull a lever in order to reduce or basically drain the water out of the location just underneath where we came down from the lift in order to make a walkway for us to get to a mini boss fight, as well as getting to the Revelation Depths just underneath. And over here on the right, we will get ADYR-WORSHIPPER'S saw. Not 100% certain on where this item goes just yet. You know, if you know something about this connected to a side quest line, let me know down in the comments below. I'll be able to pin that for some other people. I'll be working on side quest content a little bit later on, trying to connect that with these mass area guides. Doesn't always work considering there's a bunch of different routes that you could possibly take with that. A lot of times you just want it to be a bit more simple and focused on the side quest itself rather than just kind of mixing it into the guide. But trying to point out a couple of those moments here and there. Can't go wrong with doing that. Over here on the right, though, we will have another one of those Donkey Kong Country moments where they're kicking the barrel back at us, but we'll be taking down that dual wielder pretty quickly. Over here on the left, we'll be making a shortcut for ourselves, and on our right, we'll find a ring, the Unblinking Root, which gives us the capability of casting Umbral spells without having Umbral Catalyst. Now, right here, I did end up just dropping one of those Vestige seeds. That way I didn't have to go all the way back through that really long lift coming down. You know, honestly, and I did end up finding one of those moments where, you know, Vestige seeds, you can only have 5 of them at a time, so you might as well start using them pretty often. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of frustration. Just use them, you know, sparingly in their own right, but you know, use them when you can. You don't want to just be sitting on them constantly, just going from Vestige point to Vestige point. But over there on the right, we will find some more of that crafting material for our weapon upgrades. And then over on our left, a little bit more ammunition. But we'll be going into Umbral from this point and jumping off. And we'll actually be having a triple mini boss fight with the Bringers of Stillness, or the Reaper characters as you know them. Still not as strong as me, as clearly will be shown in this gameplay footage. They will get put down pretty quickly. I'm not sure what ended up happening. I actually went into New Game Plus. I came back through here because there was one more thing that I actually needed to showcase for the video. Took me quite a while to get here as well, after breaking that character. But the other two that spawned in after the first one ended up having like 25% of their health bar. I don't know what happened. Maybe they nerfed it in a previous one, but we will get the DIMEXUS, which is a socketable rune that's going to give us the capability of increasing our physical damage through dual wielding, or while dual wielding. Now, heading over, we'll pop this stomach, and we'll be grabbing up another one of those Umbral weapons. Marco's axe is this one right here. Going to give us a little bit of that wither damage, and it actually plays in with strength along with the Inferno and Radiance. But heading back on up, we need to go pretty much closer, or close to the end of the path going forward, and jump off while in Umbral to gather up the next stomach to pop. What do we got here? And it's going to be another Umbral weapon, which is the NOHUTA polearm, or I don't even know. This one seems interesting because it does have frostbite buildup on it. I'm not sure how powerful it could possibly be, but it may be one of those that could work really well with an Umbral build. But now we're finally in the Umbral depths. If you were still in the Umbral, you'll be able to just use that little voodoo doll back there in order to get back out. But down here, you'll notice it's a bit darker, and there's going to be locations where we have these lanterns all over the place. Now, I don't believe I've showcased all of them within the guide footage, but I painstakingly went back through and combed over this entire area and basically lit all of them to get nothing. And when I looked it up online, didn't seem like anybody had anything to say about it. Sadly enough, I was kind of hoping this would have some type of secret to it. I even found one that was like a mini one at the very end, close to the last vestige point down here. And still, I was basically met with the factor that it's really dark down here, and they basically just make you see a little bit better. That seems to be the consensus about it. But from that point, we'll need to jump into Umbral in order to cross over to this other platform over here. Got another fire to light over here, and over on our left, we'll have the shovel head, which is going to be a fist weapon. Doesn't have anything going for it other than just being basically a miniature shovel. That'd probably be great for, you know, your backyard gardening. But over here on our left, we will be able to drop this ladder down, and over on our right, we'll have a bit more of that crafting material for our weapon upgrades. And over to our left, just off to the side of that, we've got some large shards. You definitely want to grab up the large shards pretty much any time that you see them. Those are the ones that are going to be the most expensive at the blacksmith, but at the same time, you just don't find them all that often. So each one of them really is going to add up later on when upgrading your weapons, or as you're going through. Now, coming back down, we're basically just below the portion where we jumped over, and we won't need to go back up top to the other one. But we'll find another bigger skull right there. From this point, you know, we're just basically clearing everything, and then you'll notice this opening over on our left. We'll be walking straight on through there. Now, you could drop a vestige point right here if you wanted to. I didn't actually grab one up right here, but we will be getting a lift just ahead of us that's going to take us up to the vestige point that we had in the mines, I believe. And I think it's even called the lift vestige. Sadly enough, we've got another one of those invisible bowmen. I really can't stand it. I took so long trying to just get the arc on that one just to find some wither ward. Like, of all things to be behind that, it just did not feel worth it. But just underneath them, we will have some of those large shards, so grab those up. Get more of that crafting material for our weapon upgrades. And more than a few enemies over here, we will have some amoebas to deal with the lamp, so grab that up. Make sure you're not having more of a troublesome time fighting these guys before you realize that there's something protecting them. But you do want to take this lift up. This is going to save us the cost of using another vestige seed right here. And honestly, you know, you're at another one of those points where we will get the miner's desperation shield. Doesn't look that bad. It's got strong wither protection. But just inside of here, we will have the vestige point that we previously got where, what was his name? BYRON, I believe his name. The guy that looks like the redheaded guy from Army of Darkness. He was standing right there talking about finding a pendant of his, which we will come across a location where that should be. Sadly enough, I did not get it myself. Because once you take that lift up to the upper CALRATH before going to this location, you will end up actually basically skipping out on this side quest along with a vendor. So we'll showcase where that is. But over here on the right, we'll have some wither bolts. If you were going for a crossbow build, a little bit more of that wither damage. And we'll get the fungal bowman, which is going to drop off some of those bowmen that you will kill. Occasionally, that may be something that'll drop for you. Now, pushing over here, we've got another one of those lanterns over on our right, and we've got a few more of those gremlins. God, I hate them. Always an absolute frustration. But we'll also have a chipped spear over here. Not the greatest thing, but, you know, it's another one to find, I suppose. Just adding to the collection at this point. Now, you notice we start heading on down, but we will be heading over to our left first. Just checked out the right, but we're jumping into the Umbral at this location, as we've got quite the platforming ordeal to actually go through. Now, over here, we will have to pull across with Soul Flay. We've got more than a few of those spitter enemies, so be prepared for that. They'll be trying to get you all withered up so that one of these husks can one-shot you. And we'll also get some more of that crafting material for our weapon upgrades. But doubling on back, we will actually take out those husks first. You don't want to get knocked off by one of them. Absolute frustration right there. And just above us, we'll be pulling that and then heading up this ladder. I believe it actually, yeah, it is kind of like a time release, so I didn't have to do that one. All right, forgot about that, but we'll need to pull that across, use those throwables, and we'll have another Mr. Potato Head moment where he's, well, Fat Boy's having another tantrum. He's throwing himself all around, that's for sure. Somebody just, I don't even know what to say. He's just spitting and crying. But over on our right, we'll pop that stomach and get some more of that healing upgrade item. As well as from each one of the Fat Boys, it seems like we'll get the Tomol. I'm not sure what to call it. It's going to be the socket. I believe that's the one that either increases Inferno scaling, or it's the one that gives us the capability of healing on kill. So effectively, you can target farm some of these enemies for those socketable ruins, and you will actually find some enemies, as far as I know right now, in New Game Plus, I've had some of them drop additional sockets that I did not know even existed. One that was for ignite buildup on a weapon, just further increasing it, which is actually going to be really powerful for a build that I'll be working on here in the coming future. Next couple of days, I'll be dropping an Inferno build with dual wielding weapons, and it basically revolves around dual wielding and causing ignite. It's pretty deadly. It's been doing some massive numbers in the New Game Plus, even with the secondary weapon not even being anything other than +6. It's kind of crazy. But you'll notice we have spot to jump down over here. Now, I didn't jump from that location, but you're supposed to jump from that portion over onto that little hanging platform and then jump across. But I'll showcase what I ended up doing here in a second. I'm actually going to go back up, and just above it, over here on the right, I actually just jump over this portion right here and then drop down. So you can either do it that way, or you can do it the extremely dangerous way and get some enhanced snake oil grenade over here. And then have this, because I thought I was supposed to jump across back over there, and I didn't realize until later that was the other location to jump from. But I hate platforming in this game, and always, yeah, it just doesn't give me a good feeling most of the time. There are certain moments where I feel like I get stuck in an animation lock, and then if I hit dodge or something, it just goes wherever my character is going instead of where my direction of my stick is going. But down here, there is more than a few of these gremlins dropping in. It gets extremely... I got caught up on the campfire stove somehow. I don't even know what was going on there. Absolutely frustrating. But we will get the Nimble Ring, which is going to further increase our agility attribute. So if you're a dual wielding type, or somebody using, I guess, a polearm in combination with strength, could be pretty powerful for you. Now, over here is probably one of the most BS moments I've had in this game. I hate these angler loots, and they put it in a spot where you have to jump. So I went to run, and when I hit A, while I'm running, it still picked it up. I noticed it. I saw it. I thought to myself, you're not going to get me this time. And I thought I was just going to jump across. You know, I'm sprinting. This is what I've got. And to blatantly put it in that location is absurd to me. But thankfully, We've got one more thing to grab up before we head all the way back down to that location. As before, you know, I hit New Game Plus, and sadly enough, I just couldn't go back to get some of this footage in order to make this as seamless as possible. But effectively, we'll have to come back up here, as there's another one of those stomachs to pop. But just off to the left of that lift itself, if we go into Umbral, right over here, we'll have two of those spitters to take down. Just behind that, we got the stomach to pop over here, and we'll be able to grab up another Umbral Eye of Theater, and then another one of those fires, or little campfires, to light back up. Then we'll have to deal with the Reaper and all of the husks just below that, along with the ranged enemy types. A little bit frustrating, but thankfully just right there on our right, we will have one of those little shrunken head voodoo doll locations. Bring us back into Axiom. And then we'll start heading back forward. And we'll still have those two bowmen to deal with, and all the enemies along with that. You could just run past them. I'd make a strong argument, you know. Pretty good idea to just get it done that way. Considering, yeah, it does get a little bit dangerous. But thankfully, we've still got that second life. But heading forward, we'll be able to head over to our right. And thankfully, this time, the angler loot is not going to be directly on the jumping path, which makes no sense to me. I get you put it in the game and you're giving me trust issues with it every time, but, and you know, I guess it's a good laugh for you or people on stream. Say, oh my God, yeah, that's right, I did get hit by it a second time. All right. I'm just a loot fiend. We got problems with this, and this game just gives me even worse anxiety over it, I guess. It's not even anxiety, it's just frustration, because I just go for it every time. I'm not even questioning it most of the time. There's no anxiety. It's just, yeah, I'm annoyed. And I'm even more annoyed that it's in the middle of the path. Even after I saw it, I was like, yeah, I got you. I'm not going to get fooled into it this time. Now, just right here, you don't want to hit the voodoo doll just yet. I'm an idiot. Over here on our left, you'll notice that we'll have to go back into Umbral just to pop that stomach right there. So you want to make sure you hit the stomach before you hit the voodoo doll. And we'll be getting the Pendant of Atrophy. This is going to give us the capability of basically using our own health as our mana after we run out with it. And just what it's going to cost us is wither damage. So not 100% certain. I haven't really played into it, but it could be pretty powerful, especially if you're using an Umbral Catalyst. I wonder whether or not if while using like a ring that gives you the capability of using other magic types with an Umbral Catalyst, if it would work in the same way, even consider it still an Umbral magic through the Catalyst. But over here on our right, we will have the Wither Arrows, and this will actually be the location where you can find the pendant that BYRON's looking for. But if you take the lift up, all you'll get is these worthless coins in this spot. If you don't take the lift up first and you go down here first, you'll actually be able to get the pendant from, I can't remember the name of the person, but effectively you'll have a vendor that ends up coming from this place, and then they'll end up at Skyrest Bridge after a certain amount of time, and you'll get BYRON's pendant for him. Or you'll be able to buy it. I can't remember specifically. I looked into, because I literally just looked up what the worthless coins were all about. And then next thing you know, I found out it's a whole side quest for BYRON moment that I was kind of confused about. But inside of this room over here on our right is a very important item, which is going to be the max upgrade item for our weapons. We've got a straight up DERALIUM chunk. That's going to be for our plus 10, getting that weapon maxed out. And just in the back of that, we will have the grenade throwable, giving us a bit of that fire and physical at the same point. And then heading from that point, we will have another one of those bigger boys to deal with over here. We'll actually have two of them. So get ready for another bigger boy fight that's a little bit harder to deal with than this guy. Sometimes it can get pretty frustrating with the capabilities of your character, because I'm telling you right now, I dodged into this guy. And my character model just flew behind him and then continued the dodge over the edge. But over on our left, we'll have the enhanced Forsaken grenade. Over here, we're going to have Mr. Bellhead. I cannot stand this guy because the one move that he has that really just gets me every single time It's when he just pops that arm out right there. And he just starts hitting himself in the head. Every time, my thought is, dodge now. When the reality is you just need to block in that moment. Or just at a range, you just need to keep throwing lump hammers until he's done. So he's just stun locked. Because, you just don't want him to keep beating himself in the head. Over here on our right, we'll find Justice, which is going to be a holy greatsword. Based on strength, has 200 on smite buildup. So it may be a strength radiant type of playstyle. I can see somebody really utilizing that for a lot of power, considering with over here on the right, though, we will have lost BYRON's catalyst. This one actually does have 5 slots on it, so it's pretty strong. Like, it's well worth grabbing up. That one's going to give you the capability of using 5 Umbral spells on that, if you have 5 Umbral spells by this point. But you could go back to old Mole over there in the Skyrest Bridge, and he'll give you some spells Umbral spells to buy up. But over here on our right, we'll be coming towards the end of this location. Got more than a few, or it's quite dense with the packs over here, and more than a few of those ranged archers over here, so do be careful. And on our right, we will have a chest to open up over here. You could really miss this one because it doesn't shine until you get right next to it, but we'll get Death's Finger out of this one, and ammunition satchel and pouch, I should say. But heading down from there, do be careful. There's going to be more than a few of those little zombie husks, a little bit of that crafting material. And just below us, we will need to pop some of those amoebas with the Umbral lamp. So be aware of that. There's going to be 2 of them. So that way you're not just walking into a whole bunch of enemies that are basically just ready to use ranged attacks on you, but not capable of dealing max damage to them. Even though I still ended up getting taken down after taking them both down. Because range damage in this game is a little bit broken. It has extreme posture damage, apparently. Every time. Now, you can take this lift all the way up to the point of the other lift. That's where it's actually going to meet up with. But just below that, we've got the next vestige point. So I don't even, me personally, well, actually, I know why they put that lift in to make this shortcut. Considering once you go into New Game Plus, there's no more vestige points. There's only the 1 seedling point you can plant anywhere, and the 1 vestige point at the Skyrest Bridge. So I imagine that's why there's so many of these like redundant kind of shortcut moments. But heading around the corner, we'll be in our secret boss fight, just in the room that will be where we actually start the Umbral ending, if you would like to, if you haven't actually cleansed any of the other beacons. But we'll have ADYR-WORSHIPPER'S, the Pledged Knight, and as well as her little minion up on top of the skull over to our right. She will be throwing some ranged damage at us, but at the same time also throwing some health back onto ADYR. So be careful with that. She will have a crossbow. Looks like a demon hunter, or like a little bit of almost like Melania in a way. Or more, what was it? The Crimson Knights, or the Scarlet Knights? I can't remember from Elden Ring. It's the hair that really kind of gets me. But I thought this was a pretty nice boss fight. Probably one of the better ones in my opinion. It felt really nice with telegraphing. It didn't seem too hard for me. I actually got it done in 1 run, and visually it was quite pleasing to me. I really enjoyed how it was. It's not necessarily one of those moments where every one of the attacks felt like it was at the same pace. It wasn't like I all of a sudden just started getting new combos where I'm like, yeah, this is faster, this is slower, she's holding back before she lets this one out. It's pretty much like, here's my swings, I'm going to be throwing some arrows out, crossbow in it, and then once she gets closer to death, she'll actually run over. Don't get close to her because you will take some damage from this moment. She'll kind of like burst out with like umbral damage. But right now she's trying to get that withered health. This is one of those moments where we pull out the throwables and we just beat that thing down. That lump hammer is just devastating. Now there is a second phase to this fight. Basically the little minion up there combines with Dervla down here. It turns into the Unbroken Promise. Gets a little bit more animalistic at this point, almost like a monkey. She basically breaks her sword and starts kind of bashing and, kind of leaping around almost on all fours. Well, all threes, I suppose. That sword's not really doing much until the end point. But effectively, you will still have to look out for those moments when she does slash down. She is still going to be putting out that umbral magic. She'll be clawing. Trying to remember, about halfway through, it does get a little bit more difficult. But she will have explosive damage in certain moments. Can be a little bit frustrating. But if you can time those dodges right, you're going to be up in her face. That's right. She pulls out the nails. This is when you got to get a little bit distance away from her. Ranged people may actually have a better time with this second phase of the fight. She's less in your face for certain moments. Gives you that opportunity to really kind of lay waste to her whenever she's got those nails working against you. And in this moment, I think she's going to throw the nails at you. But she'll also explode outward. You'll need to dodge that one. Tried to get the throwables. That's right. She's so low to the ground that the arc actually doesn't connect. So you'll have to do it manually if you want to, or just get up really close. She'll start throwing the nails. Thankfully, they're not doing the most damage, but my timing on that dodge was, it could have been better. But you'll notice she starts doing the slash and then the downward slash, and in those moments, you really are going to have to time those dodges right, especially the one that's slanted. That one's pretty hard to actually dodge. It seems more along the lines of you're going to need to dodge to the right of her in order to kind of try and avoid that one. But you'll notice in that moment, yeah, if you dodged right in that moment on both, or if I had, it would have been right underneath that. But you notice I'm getting the dodge timing correct. We're able to keep that going. And right now, I'm just at that point where it's like, all right, it's time to get greedy. She's almost dead. And then it gets really bad really quickly. Thankfully, we've got that Umbral life. That could have gone a whole different route right there. But she definitely does get frustrating in this moment. We're waiting for that explosion, dodging through it, and then we're going in for our final blows. She's trying to get some of those slashes in, but we're able to finish her off pretty quickly. Thankfully, not one of the hardest boss fights in the game. I'll honestly say one of the more fun ones. Considering I was able to figure it out pretty quickly. It didn't feel entirely BS like some of the boss fights that I've already faced inside of this game that we'll be talking about a little bit later on in these guides to come in the future. But up here at the top, don't forget to hit that Umbral rift right there. Get the remembrance out of that. We got to go into Umbral. But you want to grab that up, and you'll notice right here it says Seek Scourings. This is actually the starting point towards progressing to the Umbral ending. What you're going to need to do is head back to Mole and grab up the Scouring Clump, I believe was what it called. We're about to have it on screen here in a second. But you'll notice Umbral Scourings is how we're actually going to be able to purchase this. We'll go to Mole, and at the bottom of his list, right next to the chrysalis of, it's the Umbral Scouring Clump. Need this, and we'll need to take that back to that little fountain with the hand at the top of that skull. We'll drop that in, and we'll start the quest line for the Umbral ending itself. But sadly enough, if you've cleansed any one of the beacons, you're going to be locked out of that for right now, so you're basically going to either have to start a new game or, just bum rush all the way until that next New Game Plus. As I believe in the previous update that they just made, you can actually go through New Game Plus 1 difficulty yet again instead of going straight on to New Game Plus 2, which would make it even more difficult for you, given the capability of some of those people just pushing on into the next layer of the game without further increasing the difficulty or just constantly ramping it up, trying to get some of that completionist content instead of having to constantly start from a completely fresh new character. Sadly enough, that's where I'm at right now. I will be doing a guide later on for the side quests along with the Umbral ending. I'm actually going to start that up live tomorrow on Twitch, or tonight by the time this video's up. I'll be doing a Radiant Magic build, see how that goes, and push towards that Umbral ending, and hopefully in the new game +1 I'll be able to get the ADYR ending with that same little like holy priest build, because I think that would just be funny. But that's going to be the Revelation Depths Guide. We had plenty of good loot down here, definitely some stuff you didn't want to miss, even if you, even if the video didn't give you the full length portion of trying to get through that Umbral ending guide. We'll have that coming later, but at the same time, you still want to come down here whether or not you're going for that type of ending. There's plenty of good loot, and who's going to miss out on one of those boss fights? You can't miss out on one of the best ones in the game. But on that note, hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed some of this content, hit that subscribe button. We got plenty more content coming in the future, and if you'd like to see some of this content live, hit that link down in the description below. Follow me over at Twitch. We'll be streaming daily. And we'll also have some Alan Wake 2 in the coming future if you'd like to see some of that action. But on that note, I'll see you in the next one, and have a good one.